record and start by saying welcome everybody to the 6th peer learning session in the series. So as you know, the aim of these sessions is to provide a space for our members to give an overview of your program's design, curriculum, lessons and challenges. They can be on any aspect, or they can be to pitch concepts you're working on that you'd like collective input on. And this is the first one of its kind that we've got today. So I'm absolutely delighted to welcome the team who are working on a Pluricultural and Intersectional Leadership for Conservation in Latin America project. This is led by Mar Espinosa, and she is from the 2018-19 cohort here in Cambridge, and she has a team of other alumni who are working with her. And I won't go into too much detail on the project because they're about to pitch it to you. Yeah, this is really a space for them to share their thoughts on where they're at with this new conservation leadership program, and to try and get your advice and input. So please note that this is being recorded. So if you do take yourself off mute, you will be part of the recording, which we'll share with other members who couldn't make it. Feel free to drop questions into the chat at any time, or comments or thoughts or feedback. And we will have the short presentation from the team, and then we will open it up for a Q&A, which I'll let the team moderate themselves because it's just easier than me jumping in. But I'm here at any time if anyone needs me. And yeah, looking forward to it. Now I'm going to hand over to Mar to tell us more about the project. Over to you, Mar.
Thank you, Shelley, and thank you for everybody who's here in this peer learning session. So I'm gonna go ahead and start our presentation. It's gonna be 15 minutes, and then as Shelley said, the main objective presentation is to hear about your experiences, your thoughts, if you can give us any feedback, and hopefully managing some collaborations to move forward with the project. So let me share quickly. Do you see my screen? Yeah?
Yes, we can see it, Mar.
Thank you. Okay, so I am Mar Espinosa, as Shelley presented me, and with me will be presenting Evelyn Brites Navarro, who is part of the team. She is in Paraguay. So our project, we have named it Tejiendo Raíces, which means weaving roots. And as Shelley said, it seeks to create a pluricultural and intersectional leadership for conservation here in Latin America. And now I'm going to hand it over to Evelyn, who's going to talk about the first part of the presentation and the project.
Thank you, Mar. So today we'll give you a background of our project, then we'll talk about the methods that we're planning to use for Tejiendo Raíces. Then we'll give you an update of where we are right now, and then we'll have some time for discussion, questions, and hopefully some feedback. Thank you. Next slide, please. So who we are, Tejiendo Raíces was created by 4 members of Cambridge Masters in Conservation Leadership, which are Mar Espinosa, Florencia Chapero, Sol Espinosa, and myself. And right now we are working with a volunteer for the communications area, who is Veronica Fernandez from Paraguay also. How it started. So in 2023, the Masters funded a regional alumni meeting in Ecuador, where we identified recurring themes from the exclusion of local knowledge to gender-based barriers, burnout, and lack of management tools. I remember in this meeting, we were talking about how training opportunities in conservation leadership are mostly available in the global north and are available in mostly in English, which is a barrier for local leaders from the region because they do normally not know how to speak English, and they cannot access these training opportunities. And we know that the region is very rich in biodiversity and also in cultural and social leadership. So there is a lot to offer in the region. Next slide, please. So we identified missing opportunities in conservation leadership. The first one is related to indigenous and traditional knowledge. We see that there is a dire need to promote the decolonization of conservation practices, this considering that several conservation initiatives are designed and planned based on knowledge kind of like created in the global north, but there is a lot that can come from traditional knowledge and practices. Secondly, we see that there is a dire need to promote a gender transformative approach and the need to transform the gender power dynamics. And thirdly, we have a well-being focus since conservation leaders in Latin America, just as conservation leaders from many other parts of the world, face mental, physical, and legal integrity risk, which really affect them at the personal level. Next slide, please. So we have 4 pillars of work. The first one, as I mentioned previously, is decolonization. We aim to contribute to decolonizing conservation practices by recognizing and legitimizing local and traditional knowledge. Secondly, we have management. We aim to strengthen conservation management skills. Thirdly, we have gender. We aim to empower women leaders to develop their potential and drive social and environmental change. And last but not least, well-being. We aim to promote well-being and care practices to cultivate resilient leadership. Next slide, please. So what is our vision? We envision that environmental conservation is led from the global south in a diverse and collaborative manner. And our mission is to strengthen local and diverse leadership in environmental conservation across Latin America, with its own voice and vision, with a transformative gender approach and also promoting well-being. So, who does Tejiendo Raíces target? It targets community leaders, especially women, youth, indigenous, and Afro-descendant people. And our program will leverage diversity and lived experience as key leadership strengths. And now I hand it over to Mar. Thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the methods that we have envisioned, letting you know that we are planning on starting the design of the program. So these methods is like what we have gathered and what we think will be good, but this is really what we would like to have some feedback on based on your experience and yeah, your experience. So in general, the program approach, we're currently running a survey to identify local needs and opportunities. So if you have like contacts in Latin American conservation, please help us get more answers to our survey. The program will be virtual online. This is to limited funding and also to access more so that more people can access it. And it's being designed in a modular way. We're planning to have synchronic and asynchronic sessions, meaning that there will be like live facilitation of some of the sessions, but there will also be work between sessions. It's going to base on participatory tools. So we see ourselves as facilitators of the learning process and the building process. We are thinking that we'll integrate things as storytelling, mapping, reflection circuits, and peer exchange. The facilitators will be from the region, and when I mention the region, this original program will be like delivered, hopefully not at this point, but Latin America. So it's like from Mexico, Spanish speaking Latin America right now, from Mexico to Argentina. Our current like initial regional approach is going to be a little bit more limited, like Ecuador, Colombia, and Peru, and maybe a little bit more expanded. We're still figuring out the participants. And we definitely, as Evelyn mentioned, language accessibility is a big aspect. So the pilot will be in Spanish, but we are aware that there are like other the diversity of languages in the region, and we hope that in the future we can address this language barriers. So at least Portuguese, that is a big part, and other like local and indigenous and traditional languages. A little bit about the method. So we're planning to adapt a method from a project in Colombia that's called Bowen Project. And they do regenerative projects integrating indigenous and traditional knowledge. The way that it works is they start off asking for the community leader or like a group of the people that lead the community conservation project to map the knowledge and identify knowledge gaps, but also like knowledge that's being lost. So traditional knowledge that is not being taken into account, and promote an exchange. This is between, it can be generational, it can be gender, it can be depending on what they need, promote an exchange within the same group. And then go through on mapping their territory and identifying where these conservation actions can take place. Also threats, like what is threatening their area or territory or their idea of project. And identify conservation objectives, which will lead to like conservation strategies to address what they want to achieve. And identify actions and design with them a participatory monitoring system so that they can follow up the actions that they're doing in their community. And this monitoring will allow for an adaptation of the project to their needs and to like within lessons learned and to the changing threats. And all this should be framework within their governance. So many communities have either like small leadership groups that decide on this, but many also choose here in Latin America based on assemblies. And so this should all be like from the beginning socialized and accepted by their governance system. That eventually will lead to a consolidation of the project and going through the cycle again to identify what is it, the knowledge that they're losing and they need to like preserve and base the conservation strategies based on this knowledge and the threats and needs that the community has. So as I mentioned, the program is aimed at being participatory, meaning that it's a student center that we support their learning process, but it will depend on each reality and context of each conservation project and community, and experiential. So the idea is that they end up either adapting or creating a conservation project. This will be, as we mentioned, 4 pillars will translate into what we see as 4 modules. The decolonization one, that we hope to create a reflective space to question colonial legacies in conservation and reclaim local and ancestral knowledge to shape inclusive territory-based and environmental leadership. Some of the topics we expect to address here is that people understand how colonialism has shaped conservation in the region, identify the exclusionary practices in the models that many places are currently used, reclaim and legitimize traditional and community knowledge, also gain the confidence to advocate for their conservation practices, and connect with others, like within, as a collective within their community and understand like collective work, but also within the cohort to move toward the just conservation practice in the region. This will be supported by project management. So we do understand that there is like core project managed competencies that are needed to deliver effective and sustainable conservation outcomes. Some of the topics we have identified already in our survey and speaking with different people have been project design and evaluation, fundraising, leadership and team management, conflict management, and communication. and with a gender module. That the goal is to promote equitable and inclusive conservation practices by strengthening gender awareness and fostering diverse, intersectional, and transformational leadership. This aims some of the topics we think it will be like making visible the inequities faced by women and gender non-conforming leaders, recognize and value feminine leadership and community rooted, identify inspiring experiences and strategies, gain practical guidance to transform gender power dynamics, and engage in individual and collective reflection on unconscious biases and potential for transformative change. We understand that this is like a big area, like a gender transformative approach. So we see this as a starting point to address this, to start like a gender transformative practice in conservation in the region. And I'm gonna hand it back to Evelyn to talk about the well-being and resilience that is part of her work.
Thank you, Mar. So for the well-being and resilience model, we aim to strengthen the well-being and resilience of community leaders in conservation by helping them gain self-awareness, provide them with tools and knowledge to develop their work safely, and also build peer support networks. So we have identified some potential topics to cover, but as Mar mentioned previously, we're conducting a survey, and we're also conducting some interviews to gather information on needs to build our models. But yeah, so some of the topics that we might cover for this module are resources for safeguarding physical and legal integrity, which is this considering that there are lots of conflict situations in the region, and this is a very urgent topic for people who work on the ground. The second one is strategies and tools for responding to harassment, which is also a very urgent topic and that we see under demand. The next one is guidance on personal care and the adoption of healthy habits, and this one is related to helping the participants be more self-aware, gain awareness about their habits and how they can better take care of their health. The next one is techniques and tools for effective stress management, which is also very important for people working in conservation, not only in the region, but in all over the world, I would say. The next one, and we're still considering this one because as we have mentioned previously, one of our main pillars is decolonisation. So we are maybe considering mindfulness as a path to build resilience, but we are still assessing whether mindfulness would be an appropriate approach for considering that we aim to promote decolonization. So we're still analyzing this one. But the next one and the final one is Weaving Roots or Tejiendo Raíces, community support and collective care, through which we aim to build this peer support network. Thank you. Over to you, Mar.
Sorry. Yeah, now I'm back. So where we're now, so I'm going to give you like a quick update. As I mentioned, we started on April 2023. We've developed like the strategy and the work during this time. So right now we are running the survey that we've mentioned 3 times already to determine the program necessities. We're still defining the methods, even though like I've presented like an idea of how we can build this program, but we're in the process of defining methods and start designing. We expect to have a pilot up and running in early 2026. And we are establishing collaborations to design and deliver the program. We are particularly like working with Conserva Aves, that is like a bird conservation project here in Latin America, and they're interested in their grantees to be trained through the program and co-develop the program with us, so in a collaborative manner. Some of the challenges and opportunities we are facing right now, we have limited experience in developing online programs. I know many of you faced this when the pandemic came through. But we are currently seeking advice, mentors, experiences about online leadership training. One of the main things of this program is we aim to legitimize skills development, and we hope to provide a certification that will give like a tool for the conservation community leaders to access either funding or just like being accepted as a conservation leader. We haven't been able, we hope to collaborate with an academic institution, but we haven't been able to address this. So this will be a great area that you can give us some advice. And finally, planning on the long term to scale up from the pilot and create a sustainable program. Currently, we're in very limited project funding, meaning that our work time is limited and also like what we can achieve. So we are searching for aligned funding opportunities to invest, be able to invest more time in the program, but also to make sure that it's sustainable throughout the time. So now I really want to open the floor for discussion and questions. I am gonna stop sharing. And yeah, did I stop sharing? No? Great. Great, thank you. So, does anybody have a question, observation, feedback? Nati.
Hola, Mar. Thank you so
Hola.
much. Sorry, sorry, I jumped immediately. But I was wondering if all the communications and the approach is gonna be virtual. Are you planning at some point of the process visit in specific communities? Are you thinking about like who's the audience? Are you going to work with Conservaves partners specifically, or are you planning to also work with specific communities in these countries?
Yeah.
My question is more about who are you going to work with?
Yeah, so our target is community leaders, and so far we are planning to have like about 40 people cohort, which will be like about 30 will be grantees for Conserva Aves. So Conserva Aves is currently, Conserva Aves is a project, a joint initiative between BirdLife and other groups that they're seeking to create protected areas beyond the national protected areas of the region to conserve bird species. And right now they're running like several selection processes that are focused on community. So they're focused on projects run by women, Afro-descendants, and indigenous. So a part of it will be like the grantees for Conserva Aves, and then a fourth will be selected. So we are planning on having a selection process that we will identify and select people. This will be also like something great to have some advice on how it has run on different conservation leadership programs, like how the selection processes are doing. So right now in the survey, we are trying to already identify people that will be interested in the program. So yeah, so it will be a mix between Conserva Aves grantees and community conservation leaders that we identify and select.
Thank you, Mar, and thank you for the presentation. Mar and Evelyn, was fantastic. Very interesting project.
Thank you.
Sorry, that's my kid in the background, but I wanted to just maybe tie in something, and Mara and Evelyn, maybe you can expand a little bit. But for the participants of this pilot and into the future, what is kind of the plan for pay for play? Because I know, Mar, we've talked about that a little bit. So Are people expected to pay for the program? What type of like accessibility barriers are you kind of breaking down with maybe funding some of the participation? So if you could elaborate a little bit on that, I think it would be helpful. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you,
okay.
Aisling. And
Yeah.
I also wanted to thank Aisling because she was a great support in editing and seeing the presentation. So I don't know if you all know Aisling, but she's like trying to get like partnership throughout the network. So answer her survey and yeah, she's great. Thank you, Aisling. So yeah, the idea right now the program will be like offered for free. We are not charging for the program, but we are hoping that future like as we scale up, we are hoping that some of the funding that we get will be like for the leaders' participation. So yeah, at this point, there will be like a free offer program. There will be a selection process, but we are we do think it is important for conservation, like participants to also be recognized for the time and the investment in the program. I don't know if that answered your question, Aislinn, before I move on to the next one. No.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Tim.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the talk. Very interesting. I was wondering, sorry if I missed that, but how does the project look like? I mean, it's online if I got it right, and is it over several weeks or is it like something that goes over a year, or like how do you plan to deliver the contents?
So maybe this is like exactly a great place to see, like we have prepared some questions to share with you. And one of the things that we are trying to deal with is actually like is online. So to answer the first question, it is an online program so far. But we are not sure about the length of the program. So so far we have discussed with Conservaves that it might be like around 3 months with a weekly delivery or bi-weekly. But this is exactly like the kind of like details that we have no experience on. So wanted to get a little bit of feedback on like how long these programs can be, how often can the meetings be, is it better to have like 2 meetings a week for like an hour, or like a meeting for 2 hours, like based on yeah, this is exactly some of the nuances that we haven't still um, defined. So yeah, I don't know, Tim, if you have any experience in running online leadership conservation programs with community leaders. What is it, the experience that you have in delivery of online programs?
Not much, to be honest. So we have I'm with FZS, Frankfurt Zoological Society, and we have a 4-week training program that is in person,
Yeah.
which is of course very nice for the time when it takes place and gives a lot of opportunities. But of course, if you decide to run an online program, I guess it also has a lot of advantages because people don't have to travel and so on. But unfortunately, I don't really have a lot of experience with delivering digital programs. But maybe someone else.
Yeah, I think Laura just raised her hand, but thank you for the question.
Yeah, I don't have much experience with the digital programs. The one thing that I would just flag that I've found with some of our programs in Africa and now in the Amazon is the connectivity and limited technology. And so if you're aiming to reach community leaders, you might consider building in a stipend to offset some of those limitations, either for accessing Starlink or technology services to support them.
Nati?
That is a really good point, what Laura raised. What we do usually, Mar, is that of course, there is a limitation for connectivity, but also usually these programs are something, of course, external, something that comes from sometimes nowhere. So these invitations to do more than one session per week, usually, like, I wouldn't recommend it. I think one session per week is a good amount of time to ask from people to be in one of your sessions. Also sessions that are not super long. We usually keep hours to 1.5 hours, because more than that, I feel is asking too much from people. Sometimes we can't cover many topics there, but that is also a challenge for us to try to be concise and talk about the things that are really useful for communities, instead of all the things that we want to say. It's more like what's going to work better for communities. So I would recommend you don't do more than one per week, perhaps 1.5 hours, a little bit longer maybe, but not too much. And the best way usually to know if they're going to be able or not to connect is to ask them. So I think that's one of the questions that you need to ask. For example, something that we have done in the past is, how is your cell phone connectivity? And then you can pay for a leader in the community to pay for a plan, or for the data plan. And they will be in charge of purchasing the data plan and gathering people in somewhere in the community. And that usually works well because you also have an ally in each one of the communities. So I would recommend those small things, Mar, but we can always have longer conversations if you want.
Thank you. Nancy.
Hi, this was a fantastic presentation. I'm very, very excited about your program. I was working with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Bat Conservation International Mentor Bat Program, which was virtual. And there were fellows. It was a full-time program for 18 months, and it was a certificate program. So I was really excited to hear you talk about some sort of certificate that people would be earning. I think that's really, really important. It gives them incentive to continue and to be very active. With the Mentor Bat program, fellows were in Indonesia, Cameroon, and Colombia. And so the fellows would meet every day. It was a academic technical program where they were learning how to design projects and actually spending time implementing projects. And so the team met for an hour every day with different lecturers. They also met by cohort in their countries. And they were learning about bat conservation and One Health. But the program worked with the Conservation Leadership Program to do a 2-week intensive training on conservation leadership. And that was 4 hours a day. So that was a lot for the Indonesian colleagues, but felt that conservation leadership was so key that they learned to be adaptive leaders. So that was really intense. So a lot of lessons. The issue of connectivity was really, really important. All the sessions were recorded, so those who had problems accessing them could go back and watch them later. They would also have discussion groups in case somebody missed things because of connectivity. So lots of lessons that I'd love to share with you more, and hope we can follow up.
Thank you, Nancy. Yeah, no, I definitely follow up. I am very interested in learning like how the program worked, how you got certified. We currently are thinking that we will have like an internal certification from the organizations. But as you mentioned, like having academic supported certifications is like very important for certain leaders, particularly leaders that haven't had the opportunity to have like either college education, sometimes not even like high school education, but that they are leading conservation practices and projects in the region successfully. So the certification is the key.
Could I follow up?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we worked a lot Mentor was a series of programs, and so worked a lot with regional wildlife colleges in different countries who were willing to certificates they can give pretty easily. We also did, Fish and Wildlife also did programs that were postgraduate diplomas and master's degrees. So working with national universities is a lot more intensive in terms of what needs to be approved in the curriculum. But for certificates, a lot of wildlife colleges are pretty flexible as long as they get a chance to be a part of the design. Also,
Great.
Teams was used as a way to share all of the information. So articles were placed there that people should be reading. Discussion can happen there as well as the recording. So Teams, using Microsoft Teams, was very, very effective place to have all of the information gathered.
Great, thank you. Yeah, we are definitely thinking that there will be a limit in people who have actually access to like online learning and connecting. So we will consider like providing like a data plan or a stipend for like connecting. And we are planning that it will be a little bit of like I call it like a call and response approach. So there will be like a lot of material shared and low resolution through WhatsApp. So in my experience when I've done, so I also had to like adapt to online. We had COVID, and during this time, what like worked a lot was like sharing resources through WhatsApp. It's been like WhatsApp is a big tool that is used here at a regional level, and it uses like low bandwidth. So the idea is to kind of send out instructions and that this gets done throughout like the community and the time between sessions, and then come back with some information and be able to be available through WhatsApp or phone calls if needed for any questions or anything throughout this process. We are getting aware that we are trying to cover a lot of topics. So Nati, what you mentioned is like really important to really, we know that we will have to like drain it down to like the basics because this is not, the participants are not going to be paid. So I think like 3 months is already what we consider a long time. But if we think 3 months is only like 4 weeks per module or something. So this is one of our big challenges, is really figuring out what is it that we can provide. In my head, in my vision, I would like it to be able to end with like start with identifying some things, but end with like at least a sketch of a project or an adaptation of the project that includes this management tools, and the traditional knowledge, well-being, and gender, right? That they can continue working on, or that they have it ready and adapted to seek out for funding, for example. So in my in my head is like we start and we end with like something tangible that it's either happening already and needs funding, or that they will like it to happen and seek funding. So, and that we can continue then like supporting their like conservation processes. That is my ideal vision. But I don't know if we'll make it in 3 months. Yeah, the 18 months are really like scary. But nice to have 18 months to go through it. So yeah, some of the things is this, like, how do we keep people engaged? How do you get certified? So there's information, if you know any funding mechanisms, or if you will be willing to collaborate, either as advisor, either as a mentor. What hasn't worked at all? Like, what have you tried and it's been like really not worked? This will be a great place to share it in a safe space. One of the issues that we're running into is like if we're running a well-being module, like for example, the recording, we think that recording will like corrupt the safe space, and that we want people to be able to share things that they have lived, that they're experiencing, and then this wouldn't be available through recording because, yeah, like not everybody can share when things are recorded. How to keep engagement after the program. Yeah.
Mar, can I just jump in?
Yeah,
So,
please.
regarding well-being and resilience, I want to mention that we're looking to learn more about previous experiences in this topic. So if you happen to know about any well-being and resilience models for the conservation sector, please do let us know. It will be very useful for us to learn more about these projects and their lessons learned. Yeah, thank you.
I have one question, and
Yeah.
also forgot to say the last time that I spoke about congratulations on such a great presentation as well. You guys did great. But one of the things that was discussed later on in your presentation was this idea of the peer support that would happen at the end. And I'm kind of wondering what that, I know it's still in very much so design stage right now, but what are some of those ideas of the strategy to support participants after they participate? You kind of talked a little bit about kind of sketching out projects and supporting them through that process. So I'm wondering if those two things are connected, but I'd love just to hear a little bit more. Thank you.
Can I answer that one, Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So, one of our an initial idea is to build small peer support networks. So, for example, in the past, I have attended training courses where we had like small peer support networks of three people that you committed to get in touch with for a certain period of time, and so that you could kind of like follow up on a plan that you had, and that was very useful. So that's an initial idea that I have, at least for the well-being and resilience model. Mark, if you would like to add.
Yeah, I will add that we are hoping that the cohort also like creates a network of exchange. So we want them to like learn from each other and the practices and the threats that maybe like some of them are facing at the same level. Like here in Latin America, we have we have a lot of threats around, for example, mining that we share. And then so sharing strategies on how you address this and how you work around those. And yeah, hopefully promoting that they keep on connecting. This is definitely like an area to see like how do we keep this connection? And we have discussed that funding to get like a in-person meeting at least for the cohort like once, so that we can actually meet each other and get these relationships more established. Nancy.
I have a lot to share. Lots of experiences. You were asking what went wrong, and the very first time that U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service brought a team together didn't focus on team building, and so really learned that you start a program with team building and you keep team building in mind, and you make it really clear to the participants that you are hoping that this will develop a long-term network. And that's also where WhatsApp becomes such a great tool, because everybody is connected and they can continue on after the program. And you were also talking about selection, and selection is everything. You really want to make sure that you're investing in people who are excited about the opportunity, who are going to use this opportunity, who understand that they're joining a team and joining a network. So definitely would love to share some resources on applications or interview questions and how to evaluate those to try to get people who are really going to be engaged and then be able to apply what they're learning.
Thank you so much. Brett?
Yeah, kind of, kind of attached to what Nancy just said. A couple of years ago, I'm at Colorado State University. A couple of years ago, I worked with the Conservation Planning Specialist Group with IUCN. And part of what we did was looking at the role of peer networks in with their wildlife conservation capacity building training alumni. So I'd be happy to share those resources too, both, excuse me, the articles we looked at, but then we had a little bit of the synthesis of what does appear to be the role of peer networks in kind of extending training and support after the sort of formal part of it all is over. So let me know if you want me to share that, just because it's 5 years old now, so just kind of keep that in mind if I do share it, that it's kind of getting a little dated.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for and sharing those resources. At certain point, we also discussed like having like mentoring processes so that we can have like mentors and people that you can follow up with. And as Evelyn said, like having like 2 or 3 people that you can actually connect if you need advice or references or seek out like yeah, recommendations. So yeah, this is still like a big part of like how we're gonna do this.
I'll just
I don't know
quickly
if
add, we build mentoring into almost all of our programs. And when we launched our Amazon program, I was actually our entire team was very surprised at the level of anxiety that the participants had with being paired with mentors, more so than we've seen in any of our other programs. So I don't know if that's regional to the Amazon, but worth considering if you're building that in, just to have some preface to reduce the anxiety that comes with it.
Wow, that's like really good information because um, I can say from my own experience with mentoring, because our program, like the MPhil, also like includes a mentoring area, that I did had some anxiety. I don't know if it's regional, but it is like you end up like getting paired with people that are very successful, and then but at the end, I think building these relationships really support like professionally and conservation actions to continue throughout time sustainably. So, but it is a good idea. Also identifying, I guess, mentors that are closer to their own like reality and problems, right? So I think that would be like might address the anxiety. Nancy.
So Fish and Wildlife's program is called Mentor. And so a lot of time is spent on mentoring. What is mentoring? And mentoring is a learning process. So there has to be a lot of training for mentors and also for fellows, so they understand what they're getting into by being mentors and using their tools like mentor fellowship agreements to kind of set expectations. But I think, as Laura was saying, culture is really important and the approach is really important. And also letting them know that ahead of time that would be part of the program, so they are prepared to get involved in this relationship. And it also gets back to selection, having people who are there to, with mentoring, be there for career support, be there for helping to solve problems. So I think maybe, how you use mentoring becomes really important.
Yeah.
Mar. Sorry. Yeah. Can I jump? Another way is to call it differently. Maybe mentor is too formal. We have used in the past things like parcerías, like get your parcero and parcera and speak with them. And also angel. You're going to be like paired with an angel that is going to be supporting you speaking about anything that challenge you, and like mentorship, but described in a different way. You can find maybe a word in one of the many hundreds of indigenous languages that we have here in the Amazon, or something like that. It could be a possibility. Maybe just lower the formality of the process could help.
Yeah, that's actually it's a very, very keen advice too. Thank you, Nati. Yeah, so is there anybody else? Shelley?
Yeah, I was just going to jump in to ask the same
you're
question as we're approaching time. Is there any other thoughts, questions, answers to any of the questions on that slide, offers that anyone wants to put forward? I've been busy connecting everyone while this conversation has been happening. So yeah, any further thoughts before we wrap up? Brilliant. Well, that is
Yeah, I will be out to some of you so that we can actually get a one-on-one meeting to see the resources and any advice you will have. This is my contact, my phone number and address, email address for the project. And I also want to invite you all to visit our website. It's up and running, or it's tejiendoraices.com. And yeah, please come and give us some transit in our website, and any feedback is super welcome. If you know, I think Shelley sent out the survey that we're running currently. So if you have any contacts in Latin America among community leaders, we would like to have, right now, most of the answers are from Ecuador, but we would like to have more regional representation of the information that we're getting. And yeah, thank you very much. This has been an amazing learning meeting and contribution. So thank you so much for having us in this space and creating this space, Shelley. This is a really good place to learn together.
Thank you, Mar and Evelyn. It's an amazing presentation, an amazing project, one that, yeah, I'm delighted to see unfold. And I think this has been a really useful hour. And I really like these peer learning sessions where we're developing content together. So I'd encourage anyone else who's got anything similar to put themselves forward for a future session. I will put all of this into the follow-up email along with the recording. So Mar's contact details, the survey, the presentation, everything that you need in order to support this or connect, which I'll circulate to those on the call and those who couldn't make it. So hopefully you'll get other offers from those people that aren't here. So yeah, thank you again for all of your time and energy today, both to the presenters and to the participants in the room. I do love these sessions. I'm always looking for more. So if you do have anything in mind, please reach out to me and we can load them in for a future month. Yeah, just thank you very much, everyone, and have a great day. And I look forward to seeing you on a call very soon. So thank you. Take care and goodbye.
Thank you all so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Bye.